Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Morning Masterclass. This is episode number 40. That's another landmark episode for us on this program that we run every Monday. And wow, 40 sessions in and 40 episodes in, and we're still strong and we're still going. But we couldn't have done this without you. So we want to say a very big thank you to all of you who have been motivating us, encouraging us with your words, with your messages, with your feedbacks, coming online, listening to me, and watching these videos. And some have been reaching out to me to tell me how useful this has been to them and how they've been finding it very educative and very informative. So I really am humbled to be hosting this program and be making such an impact and such a difference. This is really what I intended it to do, to make an impact, to make a difference in somebody's life, however little it is. And I've always maintained that this is not about me knowing more about finance than you do. This is just about us growing together and embarking on this journey together, learning from each other's mistakes. I learn from you, you learn from me. And whatever feedback you've given to me, I've taken on board to make these things better and to bring you topics that I feel will be beneficial to you as individuals and as families. And remember, the key thing here and the key objective here is to improve your relationship with money. That's why I'm doing this, to improve your relationship with money, so that you understand how to build a better relationship between you and money, so that you can be in a better control of your finances rather than letting your finances drive everything else around your life. Okay? So thank you so much, and I welcome you once again to today's episode of Modesty's Money Masterclass. I remain your man, Ikenna Omezdike. I'm the director of Modesty's Financial Consultants Limited, a financial services company based in the UK, specializing in mortgages, financial consulting, financial advice, and investments advisory services. So here we are offering you what we've got. And as you can see, hey, I'm still in I'm still celebrating the win on Saturday by my lovely team, Arsenal. You see, I've been gloating all over social media. For those of you who have been following me on social media, I've been gloating all through the weekend. I've been celebrating it shamelessly, and rightly so. Okay, because there is nothing to be shameful about success. That's one thing I believe in. If you are successful in anything, there is nothing wrong in celebrating it, because it's an achievement. It's a feat that you've achieved. So why would you hold back? And some people have been telling me, hey, it's just an FA Cup. You haven't won a World Cup. You haven't won a European Cup. I don't give a damn. You see, that's the thing that people don't understand. You're waiting until you hit what you call a big achievement before you celebrate it. If you don't celebrate and appreciate the little bold steps you've taken and achieved and moved on from there and succeeded in that, it will be difficult for you to even appreciate the big ones or even to celebrate the big ones. So stop waiting for the big things to happen before you celebrate. Celebrate the little things, because those little things aggregate into big things. You see, Arsenal just won their 14th FA Cup. 14, the highest and the best in England when it comes to the FA Cup. And the FA Cup is the oldest trophy in England. So we're really proud to be associated with that level of success. So if you don't celebrate your success, it's nobody's fault. And don't blame me when I celebrate mine, because it is my success. Okay? So if you want to celebrate with me, feel free. If you don't want to celebrate with me, well, it's your choice. But hey, we're here and we're here to have fun. So let's crack on. Today we're going to be continuing on the series that we started last week, discussing the essentials of family finance. So this is part 2 of essential. Hi Joy, good afternoon. Discussing the essentials of family finance. Okay, and this is the second part of it. I said we're going to take this bit by bit so that we don't rush it and we miss out on anything very vital. And last week we talked about income as it relates to family finance. And today we're going to be talking about something else that is almost next to income. Each time you mention income, the next thing that you will listen to will be expenditures. Okay? But today we're going to be talking about something that relates to family finance that glues the two things together, income and expenditures. And that thing is called budgeting. Okay? So we're going to be discussing budgeting as it relates to family finance. And budgeting simply is a mechanism of allocating scarce resources to the different demands that are rearing its head up for those things. Allocating scarce resources to different parts. And in the family, there are different things that you can allocate your scarce resources to. And remember that these resources are scarce. And there are many wants and many needs for those scarce resources. So the allocation of those scarce resources has to be very optimum, it has to be intentional, and it has to be effective and efficient. If you want to maximize the use of those scarce resources, you really have to pay attention to how you allocate them. And one thing that helps you do that in a family is budgeting. So budgeting is simply allocating scarce resources to different wants and needs of the family. So it's about discussing your income and your expenditures. The way this money is coming in, how is it going out? So determining and deciding how it goes out is part of the budgeting. Because you cannot budget without the two elements being involved. If there is income coming in and there are no expenditures, there will be no need for budgeting, right? And then if there's all expenditures and no income coming in, then the budgeting doesn't make sense, because the budgeting is all about bringing the income and the expenses together and allocating the income to the expenditures and working out which one takes priority and working out which one comes first. So when it comes to family budgeting, it's important that the family decides, especially the spouse, the husband and the wife, or the man and the woman, or the two people in the family who are involved in that family decision making. The first thing you need to do also is to decide who makes the spending decision. Who makes the spending decision? You see, for some of us folks who are married, I've had a lot of men say, well, my job is just to make the money, and my wife's job is to spend the money. But to be honest with you, the roles being switched in some families, it's not just to say that the man makes the money, the woman spends the money. No, there are some families where the woman makes the money, right? So it's not about I make, she spends, or I make, he spends. No, it's something that the people in the family have to sit down and decide who is a better manager of finances, who is a better manager of the money that comes into this household. In some cases, it might be the man who is a better manager of the finances, who can make better spending decisions. And in some cases, it could be the woman who has the financial sleeves up, and she is in a better position to decide what goes where. So it doesn't matter who makes the money. When it comes to deciding who makes the spending decision, it boils down to the conversation between the husband and wife and the acceptance of them deciding who makes the spending decision. Now, there are several spending decisions that you could make in a family that basically maybe not one person will have the monopoly to make it. So that's where the balance comes in now. Some major spending decisions could be better made by someone someone in the family who is in a better position. And when I say in a better position, not financially contributing, but basically maybe financial IQ, financial intelligence, and financial foresight. These things may not be evenly spread or equally gifted, between the two people in the family, or in the family, or whoever is the contributors to the family purse. It might be that the man might have a higher financial IQ than the woman. It might be that the man might have a more financial foresight, like being able to see what things are going to look like in 5 years' time. I went to show a couple a house some time ago to view one of the properties that we were renting. So the lady came to view the property, and then after looking at the property, and she said, yeah, we like the property, we want to take it. And I said, okay, are you guys happy with it as a family? I mean, would your husband like to come and view it with you and all that? She said, no. And I said, well, with the budget as well, are you happy to make the decision on your? She said, yes. That things like this, she makes those kind of decisions, like how much they can spend on house rent, their budgets for rentals, and what sort of house if she's comfortable with that, then her husband automatically keys into it and is comfortable with that. Now, what's her role? She told me clearly that her role is a micro part of the economic and financial aspect of the family finance. That she allows her husband to focus on the strategic decisions financially for the family, like deciding working out where the family needs to be in 5 years' time. So you can see clear-cut division of labor, right? Clear-cut delegation of responsibility. I was really impressed with that. See, she said that she makes the immediate budget expenditures decision. She makes the micro expenditures decision, but the strategic financial decisions are made by the husband. That she doesn't bother him with these little things like how much are we going to spend in the next house rent, what sort of house are we looking for, what does the house need to have, and all that. That she doesn't want to clog his brain with things like that don't matter. She wants to free up a brain space for him to focus on the strategic things that needs to happen in the family, which is like strategically deciding where do we need to be in 5 years' time, and then he works that out, and then they begin to work towards that. For example, if they need to buy a house in the next 5 years, he will think about that. He will think about how much they need to put down as a deposit, how much savings they need to be putting down strategically, how they can arrive to their 5 years financial projection and all that. You see, so who makes the spending decision? These are the kind of conversations that the husband and the wife or the spouses need to sit down and make, and remove any form of bias and any form of intimidating attitude in it. It doesn't matter who brings more money into the family, because every decision that is made in that household should be for the betterment of that household, for the good of everyone in that household. So who makes the spending decision when it comes to budgeting should boil down to who is the better manager of money. If you know that you spend too much without looking back, it might make sense to say, let the other partner or the other party in the household who is more thrifts with money, who is more responsible with money, to make those decisions. Because left to you alone, you might blow your salary within 1 week, and for the remaining 3 weeks of the month, you are broke. Okay, so if you have been able to assess your financial weaknesses and strength, and determined that this is where I place myself, it's better in that situation to say, hey, you're better with money here now. This is your responsibility. You come up with what we should spend on electricity, what we should spend on gas, and what we should spend on internet and TVs, what we should spend on eating out and socializing. If we are going on holiday, how much do we need to budget for a holiday? What is the maximum amount we should budget on holiday? If we are making gifts to people, how much we give to people? even down to things like buying gifts for birthdays and weddings and all that. It's all in the family budget. You know, if you're the extravagant type and you know you cannot really control your expenditures, it might make sense if you get paid. If you want to put that money in a joint account, if you know that you cannot be trusted, you can't trust yourself with your own money, that you're going to blow it away, it makes sense if you want to trust your partner to say, please, let me pay my wages into our joint account, if we have a joint account, so that we can spend from there. And then you manage what goes out of that place. Or I will keep this much, you know, to myself. And if I blow it, I know I'm broke. And I'll take this much and I'll give it to you. Keep it in your account, because you're in a better position to decide what to do with it and how we spend out of it. That is after you have saved, after you have removed the savings from your savings and investment. Okay? If you know that serves you better, if you know that saves your financial woes, why don't you go ahead and do it? It doesn't matter if you're the biggest earner in the family. It simply matters that you are doing this for the household. Okay? Now, the other thing is to decide, how are the family expenses split? Okay? Who takes care of what? If both people in the family, the husband and the wife, or the man and the woman are working, yeah, and then what they are earning, from what they are earning, how are the family expenses split? Who pays the council tax? For example, in this country, we pay council tax. Who pays the council tax? Who pays the building insurance? Who pays the car insurance? Who pays for electricity and gas? Who pays the water bill? Who pays, for the children's school fees, if you pay school fees? Who pays for the children's uniform when it's school time, like September is fast coming? Somebody has to take responsibility for buying school uniforms and all the rest of them. Who pays for the fueling of the car if you have a family car and all the rest of them? When we go to eat out, who takes care of the bills when we go to eat out? When we so you just say who takes care of what, because these are the things that you have to put down in your budget. The other thing, the thing I missed out is, first of all, is when you're budgeting, right? There are different ways that people feel comfortable budgeting. Some people feel comfortable using a budgeting app. If you go on the internet, there are several budgeting apps that you can download that can help you build your budgets, right? Some people like writing it down. They write it down and then they cross each one out, and they know who is taking care of what. Because they first of all write down what the income is. And from that income, they now write down what they are spending out of that income, after they have taken out their savings and investment first from that income, which is what they do first for paying themselves. All right? While some people they don't need to write it down, they don't need an app, it's all in the head here, because they have an idea of how much they're earning. They have a mental picture, financial picture of what their finances look like. They know when they are exceeding their limits. So whichever way works for you, the important thing is that there is some sort excuse me, there is some sort of resemblance of budgeting going on in your household. And what budgeting does for you is that it keeps you within your limits. It keeps you within your means. Budgeting enables you to spend what you earn and not to spend more than you earn. Okay? So if you have not embraced the culture of budgeting in your family, I mean, you are exposing yourself to unnecessary financial recklessness. Right? Like I said, it doesn't matter how you do it, whether you use an app for the budgeting, or whether you write it down, or whether you use an Excel spreadsheet to budget, or whether you do it up here. Let there be some kind of financial coordination between your income and your expenditures, and the allocation of the scarce resources that come into the household. Because without that, the family and the household finance is exposed. In fact, overexposed to financial recklessness. You cannot just be spending without control, because that is what lands many households into financial mess. Because there is no control. Everybody thinks, oh, we've got credit cards, we've got overdrafts, we've got loans that we have, and then we've got our income coming. You cannot differentiate between your income and your liabilities. Your credit cards are liabilities, your loans are liabilities, your overdrafts are liabilities. Those are not incomes. Those are things that you spend on emergency, right? Emergency funds. When basically you need to, you just need to dip hand somewhere, fix something quickly, and pay it back immediately. It's not something you have to rely upon month after month. Some clients that I've seen, their accounts are always in deficits, over reliant on overdrafts. It doesn't show good financial management. It doesn't show that you're really working on your budget. So as a family, you have to be aware of these things, right? However you do your budgeting, make sure you have everything under control and you do not spend above your means and you don't spend more than you earn. That is what budgeting does for you. It keeps you in check. So when you are now doing your budgeting, for example, you have to decide whether the expenditures have to be coming out of an individual account or a joint account. I am not recommending anyone. I'm not saying joint accounts are better than individuals or individuals are better than them. It depends on what works for any household. Whatever works for you, you stick to it. If both of you feel that you can function, hi Justice, good afternoon. If both of you feel you can function better with a joint account, then go for a joint account where every member of the household who is contributing financially contributes into that central joint account. And all household expenditures comes out of that joint account. And it's accessible to anyone, to all the parties to the joint account, so that everybody knows what's going out, where it's going, and what it is for. So if you've budgeted that in a month, all you need to spend in a month is say £1,500, and one party contributes £1,000 and the other party puts in £500 to the and that's your ratio of contribution that you both have agreed. Fine, you put the £1,500 there, and then all your direct debits are coming out of the joint account, so that when each of you logs into the joint account, you can see where the money is going to, and you can see what it's being spent on. Whatever is left in your individual bank accounts, it's for you to spend on individually, right? Because it's not everything that has to come out of the family joint account. I mean, if the wife wants to go on a cosmetic shopping, she doesn't have to do it from joint account. If you both do not want it to come out from there, she can decide to shop from her own personal account for whatever she wants to shop. And the man might just want to buy a wristwatch. He doesn't have to buy that wristwatch from the family joint account. He might decide to say, okay, this is what we are budgeting for expenditures this month, and this is what we need to live on this month, including food and all that. Yes, that's taken care of. Whatever is left now, after I've taken out my savings and my investments and all that, my emergency funding savings, whatever is left is what I can dip my hands into, so I can spend out of that, because things that need to be taken care of have been taken care of. So that shows that there is some kind of coordination financially in the household. But if you choose to be running it from individual accounts, that's fine, as far as everyone knows what they are responsible for. Hey, Mrs., you're responsible for paying for the water bill, heating, and electricity. Okay, I'll take care of the council tax, car insurances, house insurances, food expenditures, and all that. We split it. So the Mrs. knows that whenever she's paid, these are the bills she's got to pay. The man knows that whenever he earns money, these are the bills he's got to pay. And everybody decides on that. And then you can spend it from your individual accounts. As far as none of you is doing anything to jeopardize the family or the household finance by being over reckless and then borrowing and over borrowing and putting the family finance in jeopardy. Okay? Now, the other thing you need to do when it comes to budgeting in the household. Hi Cynthia, good afternoon. When it comes to family budget, when it comes to family finance, the other thing you need to do is to differentiate between essentials and non-essentials. When you're deciding expenditures, what are the essential expenditures and what are the non-essential expenditures? Now, when we are assessing affordability, or when in affordability assessment, when we are doing mortgage assessment for people, there is something called expenditures are broken into different categories. There's something called committed expenditures, and there is a category called essentials. Yeah, and then there are non-essentials. So, for example, committed expenditures are expenditures that you know that no matter what, you've got to it's a financial commitment you've made, and you've got to stick to them, and you have to fulfill them. It's an obligation. Things like credit cards, loans, right? Your credit cards and your loans, your hire purchase agreements, and all those financial commitments that you have with financial institutions, like your borrowings, those are committed expenses. So when mortgage lenders are assessing affordability, whether you can afford a mortgage or not, the first thing they look at are your financial commitments, your committed expenses, your loans and your credit. Because come what may, every month those expenditures will have to be fulfilled. If you've taken out a loan, you have committed to paying a certain amount out of your income towards servicing that loan, which includes the capital and the interest. If you've taken out a credit card, you've committed. There's a minimum monthly payment required of you for a credit card. If you've taken out hire purchase on your car or anything in your house that you bought on credit, like your sofa, some TVs, or your wardrobes, or dining tables, whatever it is that you have committed yourself. So those are committed expenditures. So when you're doing your family budgeting, the committed expenditures should be the first thing that should come out from your income first of all, right? Untouchable. Those ones have, because if you break those ones, you are going to be in a serious trouble. It's going to damage your credit history. It's going to make life miserable for the family. Basically, if you do not live up to those expectations, it might affect other things that you want to do. Your capacity to borrow, if you want to take out a mortgage, it will affect it, because the moment those things go into your records for 6 years, they will remain there. It doesn't mean you can't get a mortgage, but you cannot get the best of the deals that are available in the market. And if one person gets involved and their credit gets messy, or gets a messy kind of financial history, it affects the household. And then there will be the difficulty of trying to separate this from that, especially when a financial association has been established between the man and the woman. Okay, so committed expenses goes out first, right? Then essentials. There are expenditures called essentials. Those are things that are very essential for the survival of the household. Things like electricity and gas, all right? Things like water bills, things like council tax that you need to be, things like food expenditures, mortgages and or house rent. Yeah, so when you think about food, shelter, heating, council tax, those are essential expenditures that you need to absolutely make sure that they are provided for, because they are essential, they are critical to the running and the survival of that household. Without food, that household can run. Without shelter under, over your heads, the household cannot run. Without heating and gas, the household cannot run. Without electricity, it cannot run. Without water, they cannot run. So those are essential expenditures that you've got to critically make sure that you take care of when you're budgeting. Then when those are taken care of, you can now start looking at non-essentials. Non-essentials are things like clothing, going out to eat out, holidays, car insurance, petrol in the car, and things that are really things that you might be able to do without. They are not really very essential to the running of the family, but if they are essential for your own convenience, right? So when you categorize your expenditures like this and you treat them in this order of priority, so you take care of the essential, you take care of the committed expenditures, take care of the essential expenditures, and then you take care of the non-essentials. So if you are looking to now cut down, non-essentials, things like internet, landline, mobile phone contract, and all that. So when you're looking to cut down on family expenditures, you know where to start, because you would have categorized your expenditures into committed expenses, essential expenses, and non-essentials. So you look at those expenditures and say, where can we cut down on things so that we can save some money on that? Okay, so when you break them down and you treat those expenditures, like, the budgeting aspect becomes easier for you, because you now know how much is coming into the household, and therefore to allocate those scarce resources to where it has to go to, you have been able to categorize and prioritize your expenditures. So once your finances are able to take care of the committed expenses and the essential expenses, the non-essentials, you can really take your pick on which one comes first and which one comes last, or which one doesn't even happen at all. That is if the money available cannot go around. And then when you now look at it and you see that you are highly geared in terms of debt, maybe you're highly in debt, it then tells you that you have been spending more than what you are earning. So you now know that you have to tackle your debts first. Bring the debts down to the barest minimum. If possible, eliminate it completely. Because trust me, especially when it is consumer debts, with consumer debts that are related to your car finance, debts that are related to things you borrowed money to go on holiday, or you borrowed money to buy a new car or to spend it on something else. Consumer debts that are credit cards. Some people buy food on credit cards. It really tells a lot about your financial management. If you got to the point where you have to buy food on your credit card. Some people pay their heating bills on their credit cards. It tells a lot of story. The kind of things you spend your credits on, tells a lot of story about how you've been managing that finance. So if you now sit down and realize that we're in so much debt, we are borrowed too much on credit cards, we are borrowed too much on loans, we are borrowed too much on these things, on overdrafts, it's time to cut them down. Focus on that. Let that become your family project, right? That our aim and our focus and our target is to bring this debt. Because if you don't bring those debts down, everything else you are doing and putting into the family purse is just leaking out from somewhere. Those debts are leakages, because especially the high interest ones like credit cards, because those are revolving credits. The high interest ones, so look out for the high interest debts in the family and bring them down when you're budgeting. Okay? And because budgeting lays all these things in the open for you to see exactly where your money is going. And the moment you see where your money is going, it becomes easy for you to track it. And if you can track your money where it's going, you can recall it when you want to recall it. You can then say, no, I'm spending too much on cigarettes. I'm not going to spend this much on cigarettes. I'm spending too much on alcohol. I'm not going to spend this much on alcohol anymore. I'm spending too much on eating out. I'm not going to spend that much on eating out. I'm going to cut down on that. Oh, I'm spending too much on clothing these days, and I've got all this. Budgeting enables you to track all those things, because that's what budgeting does. It lays everything bare on the table for you. Some people avoid budgeting because they don't want to be confronted with the reality of their excesses. But hey, if you want to do something about it, that is where you start. Until you confront yourself with the reality of those excesses, they cannot go away. You can't wish them away. Okay? Now, when you're budgeting and sort out your expenses, set up direct debits where necessary. Direct debits and standing orders. Set them up where necessary, because what it does is that it gives you some kind of financial discipline. It means I am committed to dealing with this thing. I am committed to dealing with it, and I'm going to set up a direct debit. So if the direct debit is coming out of your joint accounts for the family expenditures, set it up on your joint account, so that once you pay your own contribution into that joint account, and the money goes into the joint account. The direct debits, especially things relating with the family, comes out of the joint account. So that's taken care of. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't have to be thinking, when do I have to pay this bill? When do I have, no, set up direct debits where possible and manage your finances and your expenditures easily like that. And then you also have to determine, what exactly is funding the family expenses, and is it sustainable? These expenditures that we are looking at here, what is funding them? Hi, Chetachuku, good afternoon. Are they coming from our workplace income, or from our businesses, or from the assets that we have? Are they coming from gifts and stipends from family members and friends and family? What's funding them? Are they sustainable? Yeah. So because when you are drawing a budget, your budget has to be based on a sustainable source of income. You cannot build a budget on a source of income that is not sustainable. Something that that it comes in this month and it disappears. If it's a one-off payment or one-off windfall, you cannot build a budget on inheritance, for example, because inheritance is not sustainable. You cannot build a budget on gifts and handouts because they are not sustainable. You cannot. These things are things that have to be built on a sustainable source of income, something that is permanent. So it's very important that you look out and decide and find out what is funding your expenditures. Are they sustainable means that are funding that expenditure? Because you just got this temporary break, or you got a bonus, and then you're building your budgets around your bonus. Bonuses don't last unless there are bonuses that are guaranteed. There are guaranteed bonuses. Yes, then you can call that an income. But if you just had a temporary windfall and all of a sudden you are drawing a budget based on that, you shouldn't base your expenditures on things like that, because those things don't come in every time. So make sure that when you are doing your budgeting, that what is funding your expenditures are things that are sustainable. Your brother's money is not your money. Your father's money is not your money. Your in-laws' money is not your money. Those people can decide to withdraw their financial support from you at any given time. They have a right to do that. You don't build a budget around things that are not sustainable, because those, if you think, oh, because we are family, they are obliged to make sure that we are fine. No, they are not obliged to do that. It's a free will thing. So you need to work out, where is this money coming from? What is funding it? If you are funding your expenditures through credits, like I said, and debts, they are not sustainable, because you've got to pay back those debts. If you're building your expenditures on the fact that, oh, I've got £5,000 overdraft in my account, so I can make use of it, and then I'll pay it whenever I can. And overdrafts are not sustainable. The bank can withdraw the overdraft tomorrow. They can recall it. Credit cards, the bank can decide to recall the credit card tomorrow, and you are bound to pay back, because that's not your money. So it's important that you find out what is funding your expenses and make sure that they are sustainable. If your investments, returns from investments are funding your expenditures, fine. If that means that for example, you've got a property, and that property is yielding you income on a monthly basis, that income is sustainable. So if, for example, you say, oh, this property is yielding me £500 every month, and my car finance is £200, so that asset is funding these expenses. That's perfectly fine. If you've got shares, if you've got stocks and shares, and you've got returns coming from them in dividends every month, and you're earning, say, £300 on that, you say, okay, my council tax is £140. Returns from this dividend is already taking care of that. So those expenditures are funded by sustainable means of income. So find out what is funding your expenditures and make sure they are sustainable. And then you ask the question, are we spending more than we are earning? Again, that's what budget does for you. The budget tells you, if you're earning £2,000, if the household earnings is, say, £2,500 a month, and your overall expenditures, after you've drawn the budget and seen what you're spending every month, is £2,850. It means you're spending £350 more than what the household income is. Where is that £350 coming from? Maybe from a credit card, overdraft, or from a loan you just took out. It's time for you to begin to say, okay, I must make sure that we don't spend more than £2,500 in a month. We'll start cutting down on things to fit into that. And then you start paying yourself. If you don't, let me make it clear to you. If you do not pay down your debts in the household, especially your high interest debts like credit cards and all that, there is no point making an investment, because the investments the investments that you are making, the returns on that investment is going out through the interest that you are paying on those high interest loans. So as the returns on investment are coming out, they are leaking again through the interest you are paying out through those high interest loans. So if you want to start making any meaningful investment as a household, first of all, pay down your debts, because those debts and those high interest debts are really going to, deplete whatever returns your investments are going to make to you. It's almost like pointless making those investments because the leakage is already there. Hi, Abosede, good afternoon. Okay, and then you also as a household have to decide, do we need to cut spending in any part of the budget, and where do we need to? So if you realize that you're spending more than you are earning as a household, you can now decide whether you need to cut spending and where you need to cut the spending for. And I have always maintained in every household, if you do not review your utilities, hi Brenda, good afternoon. If you do not review your utilities every year and the contract whenever it is due, you are burning cash. Yeah, Chelsea, good afternoon. Yeah, I was very heavy mentioning this Chelsea, but I'll say good afternoon to you. All right, I will advise you have a change of name. I'm just joking, man. Okay, all right. So if you've got, say, internet, phone contracts, Sky TV, or you've got broadband and that, and you don't review them when they are due, you're burning cash, because you could be saving yourself a lot of money in that. If you just allow them to automatically or auto renew, you're burning cash. Your car insurance, your mortgages, when they are due for remortgaging, you cannot just ring, pick up the phone, call your bank and say, hey, yes, please. Hi, Brenda, you're laughing at the Chelsea thing. Eh? Okay. Yeah, it was very heavy in my mouth, man. I just managed to pronounce it, but out of pity, Thank you. So, you just have to review these things. Your car insurance, your mortgages, when they are up for remortgaging, don't just pick up your phone and call your bank and say, hey, please, let me remortgage and do a product transfer. That's it. Have you shopped around? Who told you couldn't save money on that mortgage if you went to another lender? Look at your car insurance. My car insurance just ran out recently, and my current insurer sent me a letter about auto renewal of the insurance. Oh, you don't need to do anything, we just auto renew the insurance for you, and it keeps running. You focus on what you're doing, do what you're doing, don't disturb yourself. Hey, hold on there, hold it. I've got the time, don't worry about me. I rang them up and I said, do not auto renew my car insurance, okay? Yeah, you just hold it there. And I went online and I did my research, and I got myself a better deal on another 12 months car insurance, better and cheaper than what I currently have, saving myself some money. My phone contract expired at some point. Was it? When did I even say that? I think it was last year or early this year. My phone contract expired, and when I renewed it, but then I renegotiated it. So I now pay half of what I was paying prior to that phone contract expiring. My home landline and internet expired, I think it was early this year as well, and I had to renegotiate it. The same provider, but a new, better and cheaper deal. Otherwise, I'll go to a new provider, and they knew I could do that. So they gave me a deal. So these are things that you can save money on as a family. Don't be too lazy to do these things. It doesn't cost you the earth to do it. Just pick up your phone, speak to your current provider. Have you got a better deal than what you are giving me now? Now that this one is running out, have you got a better deal? If they say no, go online and make a research. You will find yourself a better deal. Save yourself some money. You cut down on expenditures on that. Your food bills. If there are certain things you buy in the supermarket that you know you don't really need and it ends up wasting, you don't have to be buying them every time you go shopping. Because then you now know that you need to cut down on a few things on your excesses. If you think you're spending too much on your cigarettes and your alcohol and they're eating deep into money available for you to invest and save, you can cut down on things like that if you can, because those are non-essentials for the sake of your household. It's all about how much sacrifice you are willing to make and how much sacrifice you're ready to make on behalf of the household and on behalf of the family. All right, some of the habits that you have. If you have a habit of gambling, hi Chinanya, good afternoon. If you have a habit of gambling and you know it's hurting your household, what you spend on gambling, if you take a look at your bank statement or your account and see how much you spent on gambling, placing bets and all, if you know it's not sustainable and it's affecting your family finances, cut down on those because of the household finance, to keep it in a healthier shape. Because these are the things that family finances are built on. So folks, I hope today it's been a useful one again for you today, and we're going to stop here today for time and space, and I've got to go and do other things that I need to go and do. But hey, I hope that the budgeting part of this family finance series has been useful to you. Sorry to those of you who didn't join us from the beginning. I mean, this video will be available on my Facebook page. After now, you can just go to my Facebook page and watch it, and then my YouTube page as well. Just go to YouTube, search my name, Iken Naumezudike, subscribe to my YouTube page. You know, the catalogs of videos that we have done in the past are all on my YouTube page. You can get on there and watch every single one of them that you want to watch, and educate yourself. And I'm going to see you guys again on Wednesday when I come back to talk about mortgages. And Monday next week again, I'm going to see you here talking about Modesty's Money Masterclass. All right, and we're going to continue on the series on family essentials of family finance. So we've dealt with income last week. We've talked about budgeting today. Next week, we're going to come out with another section of the family finance that is very essential for a healthy financial picture for every household. Until then, take care, goodbye, God bless, and stay safe. Bye now.